can call that, but then it doesn't go through for 911. When she called 911, she gets that special operator, and that operator would determine if it's a real emergency, and only dispatch emergency 911 or thing if it actually is an emergency, not have them come every single time she calls, right?
That makes sense. So you didn't take her phone?
No, Anita, no. So that is the dispute that Albert was talking about with the neighbors, okay? When Julie was there, that incident he spoke about with the therapist, and the concern was that I was out there and Mom was on the pavement across the street with Julie, the neighbor's wife, and Mom had recently, she had cut off her own the direct line that she has. She had gone on, we can prove that. She herself said she cut off that line, and then she herself admitted that she would put her phone in my car as I'm leaving. You know, she has the compulsion to make false reports, right? She calls 911 daily. She has that compulsion.
Yeah, is that what also happened when I gave her the iPhone?
I'm not sure what you're talking about, but let me explain. So when they reinforce that, if someone has an agenda to say, oh, Zeke's taking the phone, so Julie, for some reason, was doing that, and her husband had followed that same script. When I'm explaining to them, and then Mom also said right there in front of Julie, that what that issue, Mom has told me before, that when her son died, she didn't want us to be a family anymore. She didn't think that we deserved to be a family after Vanik died. When I was 12 and he was 18. You weren't around back then. And then she's had that issue. Now with Alice gone, even worse. Right? She has self-destructive tendency, sadistic tendency, and she makes false report. And then when people go on, so that neighbor was going, did you take her phone or not? And her husband, Alan, also has done that. I have the text on her, did you take the phone or not? And when I'm explaining them, they say, no, I don't care about that. Yes or no. Yes or no. And so then when she's given that reinforcement, she's encouraged to do that. And she's going, oh, you're so sorry your son took. She does more of that when she's encouraged to do that. The other day, the attorney told me she shouldn't have the phone. You should take the phone away. So do you understand? The attorney himself says the phone should be taken away. And then she herself admits she puts the phone in my car to frame me, to report it, because the people around who benefit from that. To things. And then Albert is saying the neighbors are complaining about that very incident, that they try to help her, and then they're getting violence from me. He's making up that narrative about me. And when I'm talking to Alan, he says, no, he's never spoken to Albert. So has he spoken to Albert or not? Is Albert is reporting that the neighbors those are the only neighbors. I'm assuming that's Alan, and you know about Alan and Julie across the street from Mom? Alan, the retired cop? I told Peter, Albert about him. Do you know about Alan and Julie? Have you spoken to them?
I haven't spoken to them.
But do you know about them?
I've heard that Anahid feels safe around Albert. Or not Albert.
Alan.
What's his name? Alan, yeah.
Yes. So then has Albert, Albert has gotten that report from Alan, correct?
I know that everyone's saying a lot of different things. And
No. Specifically, I want to know if Alan and Albert were talking to each other.
I haven't spoken to Albert about any of...
I'm not asking about you, so that's what I would like to find out. I would like the truth to come out, because there's a lot of incidents where people have heard bad things about me or reported bad things about me, and I want to find out. That's called defamation, triangulation. These are the methods that I'm seeing. I want to get to the truth. That's why I wanted.
You've done a lot of that to me too. You've told stories.
So
and done
let's.
defamation and
So
told
the
lies.
stories. So those, in order to bring everything on the table. So that's why I wanted us to have those reports. You submit, tell her everything. I've told her everything, and sign her release of information, and then we will have everything is in the open, and we'll see what's really going on. Does that not make sense?
There's a lot that we need to do, a lot of work, and unfortunately I don't have a lot of time to do that. I'm actually late for a meeting right now at work, so can we just talk really quickly about today, what you need?
So you're always avoiding. So